We're live.
All right. Look at us in our matching shirts.
I like it. Yeah, I gotta fix
You'd
my
think we
color
work at
balance.
the same company or something.
It's almost like it. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're comfy shirts. Again, like I've said this before, but I've got the new version and you've got the old version. You can kind of tell the materials are just a
Oh.
little bit different. The collar is a little bit different, and then the
Oh,
printing.
when did they change it?
I think during COVID we might have like had to switch vendors or something temporarily. The main problem I
To
had,
which one?
I don't know which vendor it was. The main problem I had is that the printing wasn't pre-faded, and that the material is just slightly thicker. But
Hmm. Yeah, because
we're
this is the one after the switch from American Apparel to Next Level, I think it
right,
is.
right,
Yeah.
and this might even be next level, but like the printing is not the same. It feels different.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. It's
See, the
it,
colors slightly
the
thicker.
colors are, yeah, what? They're whiter. Yeah.
Yeah. It's way thicker, and it's starting to fade now because I do wear this shirt all the
Okay.
time. But yeah,
Oh, it's probably cheaper too.
probably. But this is kind of what I was trying to say. Like, just to rehash, like the old T-shirt conversation. But the
Yeah.
pre-worn look is one of those kind of. I know buying jeans that are like ripped or like
Yeah.
sneakers that kind of look worn, but for like a vendor T-shirt at a conference, I have a feeling that pre-worn look and that kind of like lived-in feel is actually next level for me.
Yeah.
Pardon the
Yeah.
pun.
Um, yeah, I mean I don't have my
Info one.
info ones, but I mean, we're using the same vendor and same printer and
Yeah,
everything that Datadog was using.
I think during COVID it was just a little bit different. We had a mad
Yeah.
scramble trying to get stuff in. I don't know the
Yeah.
specifics, but yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I remember with like American Apparel when they announced, I think when they announced their bankruptcy,
Hmm.
um, Datadog went out and collected every purple shirt they could find from every supplier in the entire country,
Interesting.
and they bought out, and that gave them like an extra 6 months to a
Like a
year
war
runway.
chest.
Because I mean, at the time I was there, I think I don't know what I feel like the number of shirts given out at reInvent was about 10,000,
That's
and
awesome.
I mean, and reInvent was just a small piece of
Right.
everything. So
Wow. T-shirts are a big
yeah.
deal,
T-shirts are
honestly. I
huge.
could talk
Yeah,
about this for a while, but like seriously, it's a pretty big deal.
yeah.
So listen, last week we were talking about this cool browser that I admitted I hadn't tried out yet. And after the call, we had a bit of a debrief in the green room, and I went to grab it, and it looked like it had been pulled. And then a few days later, someone purchased them. What's going on here with Neva?
Oh, you mean the search engine, not
Yeah.
browser?
Oh, sorry. My apologies. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Did I
So
say browser? I meant C search engine. You got me.
yeah, yeah. I was very surprised, and in fact, I just got my refund. I got the email saying, okay, here's this $40 refund for Neva now that we're gone,
Right.
or gone or acquired, or I feel like they announced that they were gone, and then once probably somebody who is probably a user who happened to run or be high up at a company said, I don't want them to go away. Or I don't know, or maybe they got the offer ahead of time. I don't know.
It's hard to say because they did pull it before they announced. So
Yeah,
let's see here who actually purchased them. It's Snowflake, right? Yes, it is. In
Snowflake.
fact,
Yeah.
Snowflake. There was like a 2 day lag, so it's a good
Hmm.
question whether like I don't know if an acquisition can happen in 2 days. That seems pretty
Right.
rapid. It seems like
But
they
even
yeah
when an acquisition is announced, it doesn't happen that day or just the
also
day
true,
before.
also
It could
true.
be, it's going to take us a month to figure out all the details, but we're going to acquire them.
Right. The reports I read is that like former Google engineers go out and create a search engine that rivals Google. It's
Hmm.
a bit speculative, let's say. And
Yeah.
then, of course, Snowflake purchased them. The question I've got, Matt, is how do you keep on the pulse of these cool pieces of technology that
So
are going to be acquired later? That it's kind of
yeah.
amazing, almost prescient.
So with Neva, it was because I do a weekly podcast with Brett Fisher.
Right?
He one day he was listening to Security Now, I think the
Okay.
one of the Twit podcasts.
This week in tech, yeah.
Um, yeah. and whoever is the announcer on that, or the host on that, said, I've just found this great tool called Neva, and I trust it so much, I'm giving it my data. And
that sounds like a Leo Laporte. I just pulled it up, and he's one of the hosts. So that sounds like
but no, it was like the more security focused one.
Oh, Steve Gibson.
Guy.
Okay.
Yeah. And he was trusting enough to hand over his data. So I was like, and Brett subscribed that day, and then I found out about it and was like, whoa, cool. Boom. I paid for it right away because I started playing around with it. I mean, right. I played around with it for a little bit and then thought, okay, this is awesome. Let me sign up for it completely. And yeah, it had problems. I mean,
okay,
probably, my favorite feature of like Google search is not just, being able to search is great, but I always want to change the date range to only show me results from the last, whatever, a few months. Yeah. And there's like a number of options available, like 1 week, 2 weeks, or a few different options. Right. A year being the longest. And so I've got actually an extension for Chrome that will add additional time
that's pretty cool.
variables, and then you can add your own. Like, I don't care about 2 years, or I don't care about 1 year, but I want 10 years or 5 years or 7 days or 4 days. And you can add those intervals in as a part of the drop down, which is super useful. And Neva had that, except it never worked. So I would like only the last 6 months. Okay, great. Here's this article from 3 years ago. No,
that is tough because I feel like at least in blog posts like WordPress and things like that, you could go in and change one character, which would make it look like it's been updated, whereas it hasn't. And the published date remains the same, but the updated date, which is in the background, you don't see it, is newer.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. I use this all the time, honestly, in Google to find things for like our newsletter. We've got like a little water bowl section. I want to see what's out there, what's happening, but I need it to be specific. Like, it can't be using something that we've already featured, for example.
Yeah. I mean, that's to be able to specifically list out. I mean, that would be really nice. Okay, here's this list of things I've already posted. Make sure these don't ever show up in this search. Yeah. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, we're asking for like I want like a lookup table basically for my search just off the side.
So another tool for that, I think it might actually even do that. Is it's a executable, it's a thing that you install.
Okay.
And it's part of there's a company called Devon Technologies.
Oh, Devon, like Devon Think?
Devon Think. And then there's a companion product called Devon Agent. Which
I've never gone down the Devon Think path.
I've had it installed on like all my machines for the last 10, probably 15 years now.
It's like an external brain, right? This is how
I mean, I have basically all the major bills and stuff, and like things I need to keep track of. Like when I did my registration to live in Amsterdam, that document is in there. My the mortgage papers and the actual signing of the for the house for Amsterdam, as well as my rental agreements and then the papers to buy this house. They're all in there, and as well as the plans for this house, all those types of things. And when we moved into this house, the previous owners gave us this essentially a trash bag filled with all the manuals for every bit of equipment in like everything in the house, whether it's how the toilet flush plunger works, or the all the Lutron bulbs, or the pump for the septic system, and everything. There's a manual, and it's all in this trash bag. And I've been trying to go through and just scan it, so I don't need to keep the paper.
Gotcha. So since they're not a sponsor, we can say like Devon Think is the internet trash bag for your money.
Yeah.
But like, so you scan
Yeah.
them all as PDFs and put them in there. Can it search
Yeah,
PDFs?
yeah, it will
Oh,
do the full OC. I can't remember whose OCR engine they bundle with it, but there's an OCR engine that gets bundled with it,
that's
and
really cool.
I mean you have to have their higher end, license,
Gotcha.
um, but it's worked out really well, and it syncs incredibly well to the phone and to iPads. So we probably have, I don't know, 3 Macs and a couple of iPhones and a couple iPads, and all the data is there, so that when I'm in the pool, we've got this little room kind of below the deck where all
Right.
the pool equipment is. I can be down there and bring up the manual for
Oh,
whatever piece of equipment it is down there from OmniLogic, I think it is.
that's really cool.
Yeah.
I like this. The price. So listen, I had to have a look at the price. It's not great in Canadian dollars. It's about 200 USD for the Pro, which is what I think you're talking about. However, I'm delighted that it's not a subscription service. That it's just like a pay once kind of thing. Because as much as I can understand the subscription service, as someone who's helped with software before, it's nice to be able to just buy something and own it.
And I paid for it. There might have been. I think I had to do an upgrade at some point, but I bought the first version, I don't know, 15 years ago. I think I was halfway through being in the Netherlands, so that's 15 years ago.
That is a ridiculous value. That's wild.
Yeah.
I do like that about being able to just purchase software. I understand that, like, when you're doing updates on apps and things like that, sometimes you need to charge for a version. But yeah, it's at version 3.9, so I don't know if you remember what version you bought into.
Yeah, I don't remember.
That's fantastic.
I don't know. I know there was one of the upgrades was on the iOS side when they upgraded from their DevonThink to Go to whatever it is, where it felt like a very different app on the phone, and now it feels like it's definitely roughly the same thing that you have on the desktop, which is really nice.
That's really cool.
There's not this weird synchronization thing going on.
Yeah,
it just works.
I was never
really
like
cool.
an Evernote user. I don't know if you ever were.
Yeah,
but
no.
It never really.
I tried.
Yeah, it just never worked for me, unfortunately.
Evernote or OneNote or it kind of felt the same.
Yeah, same here.
I mean, I used OneNote a lot when I was working at Microsoft.
Right, because I think it was a corporate standard, right?
And it was a weird. Actually, back then, OneNote wasn't part of Office, and so it was a separate purchase, which made it really weird. It finally got started being used more when it was part of Office.
Right.
But back then, it was definitely separate. And but if you had the tablet PC, kind of the precursor to iPads and things, today, regular tablets, but the tablet PC was amazing. And even though it was a processor that was so slow compared to what we have today, it was the handwriting, being able to, it had this Wacom pen, and you're using it on this display. And while everything else is slow, the reaction of where the ink is to the pen was like perfect, almost perfect.
Was that the Surface X? Which tablet was that?
This was a tablet PC.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So way before Surface. Well, way before Surface became something you could actually hold. When Surface was a basically a couple projectors under a video game size, table.
Right. Yeah, I remember that table PC that they had. That was pretty cool. Yeah, that was
the first Surface. Yeah.
I think I'm trying to think. That would have been 2010 because I think I saw it at the Olympics when they were in town. Funnily enough.
No, so this would have been. I was at Microsoft from '99 to 2004.
Oh wow, really?
And so that's when we had. So it was tablet PC that time frame, probably 2003, 2002.
I found it. Okay, it's just called tablet PC from 2001 to 2000.
And I think it was Toshiba. Toshiba was one of the main manufacturers, and then there was, I think, Compaq was another one.
There's the Lenovo as well. Very, very.
Yeah, yeah, they were great.
The thing you're mentioning about that I don't know what you call it. It's like it's just slightly off. Like when you're typing, or sorry, when you're writing with the pen, and
Mhm.
there's like that parallax, I guess maybe is the best way to explain it,
Yeah.
where it's just like
Yeah.
slightly off and
Little.
lagging. It's
Yeah.
so annoying to draw with. Like
Yeah.
I love Wacom or Wacom tablets, but
Yeah.
the screen version that they had when it was first coming out was
The
not.
Cintiq.
Yeah, the Cintiq
Yeah.
Cintiq laptops were not usable for me
You're right.
at all. One was the texture of the screen didn't feel like paper, so there was no
Right.
resistance, which felt weird because it was slipping
Right.
around. And the other is that like it wasn't matching up with what I was
Yeah.
drawing, which is very, very annoying. That
Yeah.
lag is
Yeah.
unacceptable when you're trying.
Right.
And I'm just retouching, but still, even in retouching, it's incredibly frustrating to
And
tell whether or
then
not you left a mark or not.
yeah. And then with the original iPad before the iPad Pro, and
Right.
you get these like different
They were terrible.
types of pens, like the Cosmonaut, which was like this big chunky crayon like thing,
Yeah.
or the
I had the
Adonit.
Adonit, yeah.
Yeah, with the little
That
disc,
little
clear
puck.
disc on side. Yeah.
So annoying.
And then finally, the iPad Pro comes along, and it gets a lot better. And I mean,
Right.
that's what I have here. I
Yeah,
have
the
the
pencil's
original,
amazing.
first generation iPad Pro still, maybe second generation. Yeah, they're incredible for that. But then there's these newer devices like the Remarkable. Have you played around with the Remarkable?
I have not.
So it's
That's
a
like remarkable, right?
e-ink basically a display that's kind of the size of the old Kindle DX, so a 8.5 by 11 kind of size. And then more recently, the Kindle Scribe has come out,
Oh, I've never heard of it.
which is I think a similar size. And they're like, I don't know, $300 or so. And apparently I mean, I've seen the Remarkable, and it was remarkable how close as you're
Right.
using the pen, how it looked like it was really drawing. The Scribe apparently had a lot of problems early on with the tools that were available versus it's basically just one pen, and there's been a bunch of updates since then. Now there's you can move the pen to the side and kind of write as like a pencil, and so that looks really cool. And then when I
Right.
did a search, like, okay, show me how is the Scribe versus the Remarkable, how did they compare?
Right.
And then as soon as I do that, I find out about Boox, I think is another one, Boox.
Okay.
And there were a bunch of others that companies I never heard of that also have really nice, full size, paper size, tablets but are e-ink. So there's a number of interesting options now.
This is really cool. I think the biggest problem I've got is that I really like the Moleskine, I think it's called Flow app, which is on an iPad, and I'm kind of stuck in that. Honestly, because it's got isometric grid paper as well as like dotted paper. I really like dotted paper for drawing like network diagrams and stuff like that. So when I'm jotting down ideas, it's pretty important. However, I feel like if any of these can let you just set up a background, it should be fine.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, that's all I really need
Yeah.
is like a transparent kind of onion skin or whatever surface to, I don't know, draw on, what have you, on the background with the guide. But yeah, this Boox looks really cool, actually.
Yeah.
Wow. Huh.
And there's some that are like, there's one that one of the reviewers just received the box that was, I don't know whose make it was, but it apparently cost like $1,000. And had a lot of the features of any Android tablet, because I think it was an Android tablet except with an e-ink display.
Oh.
And so you could have apps on there as well.
Wow.
With an e-ink display, which is interesting.
That is really interesting, actually. See if Flow is available for Android. It is not. It looks like it's just for iPhone. Okay. Or sorry, for iPad. My apologies.
Yeah.
It does also run on iPhone, but it's not a great experience,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
It's way too small. For something like that, for like I often just need essentially like, those, not a whiteboard, but one of those paper things that just scrolls infinitely. That's what I need. I just need unlimited paper to just like jot down ideas and like next page and keep jotting. And
So
I'll often do this on the plane, like just forever just take notes as I'm listening to an ebook or
And so
whatever.
you're using the one from Moleskine as for that?
Yeah,
Interesting.
and it's a subscription, unfortunately,
Mhm.
but it's not too bad.
The one I use for that kind of thing is Concepts,
Okay.
which is another iOS app. But it's kind of this infinite canvas, and you can go in all
Oh,
directions.
yeah.
But
This
you
is
can also have these libraries of shapes, either libraries that you create or libraries you download.
that's next level.
Um, and rulers, so you can get straight lines, and it's got some really cool stuff in there.
That you have me at libraries because that's one of the things that I do
Yeah.
find in Moleskine is annoying is I have to have like a separate drawing
Mm,
pad that I copy and paste from
yep.
for something like just a block, like a
Yeah.
server or a unit or what have you, is in an
Yeah.
app. You know, when you're drawing stuff, you
Yeah.
generally will have a block and just use the
Right.
block next.
Right.
kind of thing.
So, like for a flowchart, I mean, flowchart
Right.
has specific
Yeah.
shaped boxes, and you just drag over the things, and yeah,
This looks really cool.
yeah, it's been great.
Not bad at all. Huh.
Yeah.
All right. This is why we have this chat, obviously.
Yeah.
Talk about the new stuff that's out there.
Yeah.
So hopefully, like, Snowflake doesn't come along and buy these. It
Right.
gets lit on us as well. I do find it interesting, though, like to get back to that point, that people are now looking at. So I think what they were saying is that they're trying to get a bit better at searching for data within Snowflake. And the tools that Neva had is what they're going to be using for that. We'll see if that bears fruit.
Right.
But we're at a point now where that AI search or AI lookup is kind of becoming a killer app, and a lot of different applications are adding it in. So it's like Clippy. It's too soon to say Clippy, but it feels like the age of Clippy is here. Like the actual personal assistant that can help you and is useful is now here. And I think that's kind of exciting, honestly, because I was really excited about Microsoft Bob. Do you remember this?
Oh yeah, yeah.
As part of Microsoft Home, being able to have that kind of skeuomorphic assistant.
Right. The product that the product manager was the woman who ended up becoming Bill Gates' wife.
Correct.
Melinda worked on that.
Correct. Yeah. And Bob was supposed to be that kind of handy.
Yep.
Hey, like, what am I going to do today? I'll click on that and it will tell you, hey, you've got these appointments coming up, that kind of thing. Whereas, unfortunately, in reality, it just wasn't there yet. But it was, again, like well ahead of its time.
We had one that was just like that on the Commodore 64.
And but Bob having come out in 1995 and the Commodore 64 being like what, 1982, 1984.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
It was, you went to the file cabinet to look at your files. You went to the phone to look at your contact list. You went to the, all the different places in the house and the office to look up those different types of things.
I think so that the skeuomorphism, I think we're into something called neomorphism now, where like we have representations of things on a screen that are like touch points. Because I really wasn't a fan of material design. I understand a lot of people were, but that minimalist, you can't tell where a window ends and a new one starts.
Right.
Not a fan.
Right.
Neomorphism, like having something that doesn't represent a real world object, but represents an object, I think is actually pretty interesting. And then maybe getting away from like, the floppy disk as a save icon. And stuff like that. Like, these are low blows, obviously.
Yeah.
But getting into a point where you've got different areas on a page that represent things, and when you click into them, they're actually handy, I think is pretty interesting. We're into a point now where like, when I'm using Notion, for example, because I like to talk about this all the time, as I'm typing, it's like, hey, would you like AI to complete this paragraph for you? Or like write the next 3 chapters? Like, by golly, do I ever? Like, I'll edit those. But as I'm typing, it comes up and it's got this little sparkly kind of icon.
Yeah.
Or what's the IntelliSense? The new version of IntelliSense in like VS Code as you're typing.
Copilot stuff.
Copilot or Copilot X or Dev Home, I guess is what they're calling it now. But being able to have all my Git stuff synchronized across multiple laptops and stuff, that's pretty cool. Across different operating systems as well. Like, I'm here for that. So like, hey, would you like to continue writing the code that you were writing on your Linux computer on your laptop while you're watching YouTube? Like, yeah, actually, that'd be fun. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too much ahead, but I do feel like the personal assistants are finally like useful.
Yeah.
And perhaps we'll get into a point where like we focus on productivity again instead of coming up with new standards and new apps and new operating systems. I feel like we've standardized on the web, and that like all the apps that are useful are basically they're sort of like, I don't know, boxes drawn around a web page, which I'm totally fine
Right.
with. Like I get that they use a lot of CPU and memory, but if this Electron app is the same as what I get on the website, is the same as what I get on my mobile device, that's pretty phenomenal to me.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
But one place that I feel is definitely lacking every day I notice, almost every day I notice this. I'm fine if I'm right here at my computer, well, over there at my computer, or it's a laptop, so I can move it anywhere in the house or go to a coffee shop or whatever. But then there's times where I can't touch the device because I'm driving, or because I'm walking the dog and really need to pay attention to the cars that are driving past me. I don't feel like I'm, if I have a thought, how do I get that thought down? I mean, okay, yeah, if I think of, hey, Siri or whatever, and like tap my earphones and record, okay, now I need to go back to that. I feel like that's a place I still can't really get anything done.
Right.
And I've I guess because of that, I've kind of trained myself, okay, don't have good thoughts on these things.
Stop thinking while you walk the dog.
Yeah,
that is possibly the worst advice.
Yeah.
I get a lot of my best thoughts like just walking the dog around the neighborhood, that kind of thing.
But by the time I get home, those thoughts are gone.
Right.
How do I deal with it?
What I would normally do is open the Notes app and put in dictation mode, but that's like 3 clicks. So it's like unlock, open app, start dictation, and then start talking to it. And then I just pretend I'm on a phone call. you know, like, Bob, I was thinking, and then say the rest of the stuff.
So yeah, on my phone, if I there's Stella. If I double tap,
right. Oh, look at that. Obsidian.
It goes to Obsidian.
That's pretty handy.
And so I could, if I get the right, I can press the microphone and now start talking, and there we go.
And it's honestly not that great. Like if it can, if it could finally freaking figure out how to write down Kubernetes, I would be very happy. Very, very happy, because that is like the biggest problem I've got, and I correct it
Kubernetes.
all the time. It for me, it does not. yeah, right. What was it? Cooper,
and then Netties.
Yep. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
We're talking like 40, 50 times easy that I've corrected.
Oh yeah.
If not a ton more. And that's one of those things all the time. And then the Notes app on Mac OS is really heavy somehow. It uses like a whole core on its own. I feel like it's one of those x86 apps that they haven't gotten to yet, but it's like it's actually pretty expensive to run on a Mac somehow with it like an ARM chip. I don't understand what's going on here.
Yeah.
Or sorry, I should say Apple Silicon, but it's really annoying to me that in the background for it to sync, which it does do, it takes a lot of processing power. Like I have to close it all the time because it's actively taking more than anything else on my system, which is very, very odd. But the Notes app is what I use, and I really don't like it, actually. I actively dislike it, but it's everywhere. Because I can go on the web, and I can use, like, even on, I don't know, an Ubuntu box, I can open up Firefox and hop on iCloud, and they'll be synced, but it's not the same experience. It's very much Apple-centric, and when it comes down to, like, hey, would you like to, like, add a new function to your code that you're working on while you're outside walking the dog, forget about it. There's no way Xcode's got any of this built in. None of that's synced in the background. Like, it's all, unfortunately, Microsoft seems to be like really pushing the envelope here when it comes to synchronization and code specific. So for people in this industry, VS Code seems to be what people are converging on.
Yeah.
What's old is new again.
Yep.
When I joined Datadog and told them that we should probably start paying attention to Microsoft, I think people thought, like, what? Why?
You were I remember you were always focused on Microsoft.
And I kept saying, like, listen, there's a 1,000-pound gorilla in the corner of this room that we shouldn't ignore, because honestly, there's a lot of good engineers here. And I get it. Like, they do this Windowsy stuff, and it's not that interesting, but also they purchased GitHub. So maybe we should pay attention. And then, of course, Atom became deprecated and VS Code became a thing. And I think Code Server for me was a bit of an inflection point when we were able to use VS Code in the browser, basically. that was a bit of an eye opener. And then
Yeah.
Azure, honestly, it's so, but it's gotten a lot better than it was
Yeah.
3 years ago. Yeah.
I guess I should really take a look at it again.
It's
I still think of those sliding boxes that slide over. You know, as you configure stuff in Azure, there's another box that slides over, and then another panel that slides over.
They got the blades. Yeah, I think the blades
Yeah.
are finally gone. I was really not a
Okay.
fan of the blades
No,
either.
no.
I'm also honestly not a fan of Windows 11. I still have not
Mm.
used it on anything. I just no.
Yeah.
There's so much I just actively dislike about it.
Yeah.
Let alone telemetry and the ads and Candy Crush or
Mhm.
Soda Pop Crush or whatever it's called. Yeah, it just I'll get there eventually. But on the server side, like I'm still an Active Directory
Yeah.
fan. Okay, I still think it's a directory. The one directory to rule them all. But at this point in time, we got GitHub. We've got Bing, which
Yep.
no one had on their bingo cards. You can't convince
Right.
me that anybody thought Bing was going to come back.
No.
I still think Bing search in OpenAI is hot garbage compared to Bing the
Yeah.
browser. Sorry, Edge is a browser with Bing built in. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's a tough call there. Like in terms of the search results that you get back, as
Right.
evidenced by today's top 10 tech news
Yes.
things that we're going to
Yes.
talk about, which were milk toast.
Yeah.
I think is
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing I read on there was inspiring or inspired me to talk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think at this point in time, it is still better for a human to trawl the news and like rank things. Maybe, or the top 10 isn't good enough. You need like a top 100,
Right.
or you need things specific to different industries. But yeah, a lot of it was NVIDIA based. I think half the articles were about GPUs. Which is like, I mean, that's tech news, but also it's a big industry.
Yeah.
Anyway, that rant over. I feel like Microsoft, people are starting to pay attention to them again, which is great.
Yeah.
What's new on your end? Did you find any new software stuff that we should pay attention to, like Neva?
So this weekend was a long weekend for
Right.
us Americans, you know.
Memorial Day, right?
Yeah, I think that's what it was. I take the day off. I don't remember what it was, but
Wow.
so we've been we've got this amazing house, and one of the features of this amazing house is this amazing garage. You know, it's 30-foot by 30-foot garage with 18-foot ceilings or so. You know, it's a massive room.
Yeah.
It's far bigger than the first apartment that Tony and I shared. You know, just the garage is bigger than that space by far. It's probably double the space. But it's a mess in there. And so how do we, there's a lot of things we need to do to organize. So, you know, one of the things we got to do is like get some big storage bins, you know, so that we can store things on the shelves. Get the garage, I mean, the house came with all these shelves in the garage, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But now it's just open space, and so things tend to be flat and across all the shelves, but flat. So you're not really taking advantage of a lot of the space. So storage bins is definitely one of the things we need to do. We might be actually doing that tonight. Another thing was, I've got 4 boxes filled with cables. And I
only
know
4.
Well, and they are, one box has, on it audio cables,
right?
And it's all the, XLR cables as well as, TRS and TRRS, and a lot of them are labeled, the actual cables, and they're kind of coiled together or separately, but coiled and then thrown in there. But once it goes in there, I kind of forget that it exists.
Right.
And then I've got another box that is just network cables and just different network cable lengths. And there's probably, I don't know, there's probably 50 or 60 cables in there. And then there's another one that is just things with USB-C ends, of different, so
that's
lots of cables there. Power cables. There's one just for the power cables, and then a separate thing for the bricks. And then there's another box that is just power strips. So it's probably more like 5 or 6. And some of those are.
Yeah, we're getting there, right?
Yeah, some of those are boxes from Sidio. Do you know about Sidio? Sidio Crate, SIDIO. They're basically just milk crates that are nicer.
Oh, nice.
Um,
Yeah,
but and they're nice because they have like dividers, which is really great.
I see that. Yeah.
But still, once the cable goes in there, it's kind of forgotten. And do I really need more than 4 of any one type? I mean, yeah, I've got some cables that are FireWire 800. I probably don't need more than 4 of those ever. I probably don't need more than 1 of those.
Right.
I probably don't need any of them. But how do I organize these things so I know if I have more than 4 and of any one particular type? Maybe if it's a power cable with the 3 things that are circle, maybe I only need 2 or 3 or 4 of those. I don't want to have more than that. How do I organize all this stuff? And for some reason, I remembered a video I had seen of like somebody's music studio, and they had a rack, or basically just a thing with like these fingers that stick out,
Okay.
and on the fingers that you can hang the cable, and
Oh,
basically
okay.
it from
Cable end. Yeah.
the connector is hanging onto this thing.
Right.
And so there's one from Gator Frameworks, which also does mic stands and stuff
Right.
like that. So I got, I think, a knockoff of one of those. So that's coming
Oh, I thought the
tomorrow.
answer was Devon Think.
No.
A long wind up for
Yeah,
like.
I mean that would be a good counting thing, but just I want to be able to see this stuff. So got bought one of those. So that comes tomorrow. But then, okay, so that deals with like 4 or 5 boxes of cables, hopefully.
Right.
I've got actually a 2 or 3 of those things coming. But then there's tools. We've got all the. I've got, I don't know, 4 boxes, and some of them are these Cydio crates, but then there's also other Tupperware or whatever things that are filled with screwdrivers, and then they've got this tote thing that it's got. There's a thing in the middle that has little drawers for screws and stuff, and then these 2 sides that fold down. And when they're folded down, you can open up the lid, and there's all these cubbies for screws and nails. And I mean, and it totally makes sense for somebody who lives in a 900 square foot apartment and is moving from apartment to apartment and wants to bring all their tools with them. It totally made sense. We're no longer in that situation. So how do we? What is a good, and you get a pegboard, but pegboards fall apart.
Pegboard. Yeah, it's got to be pegboard, right?
Pegboard is that like cheap cardboard like wood.
Yeah.
And so as soon as you adjust it more than once, it falls out.
Crumbles.
Or if you put a hammer on it, the weight is gonna just pull it out. And so we found a company called Wall Control.
Okay.
And they do these steel boards. They are like 18 inches by 30 inches or so.
They call it a metal pegboard. Yeah.
Yeah. And they've got some that, I mean, it uses 2 systems. So there's these vertical systems that have their little things in, but it's also the holes of the standard pegboard size. So if you have pegboard accessories, you can fit those in too. And so we just got a set of that, arrives later this week or next week, but it's 8 foot by, I think, 30 inches or 26 inches or something, 24 or 32 inches by
That's really
8
cool.
foot. So we'll have that along the wall so we can have all our tools out so that you can see them and find, because half the time I need a screwdriver. Okay, to do a 2-minute job, it's going to take 2 minutes to do that job, but it's going to take me 40 minutes to find that screwdriver because it's in a box somewhere.
Am I worse than you, where like I'll just buy another one from Amazon and find
Well, yeah,
it
there's
later
the thing.
I can't find it? I feel
I can't
awful.
find it.
I feel awful, but I know I've got it. I can't find it. Need to do something. I'll order it next day or same day sometimes.
We have, I know that we have 5 tape measures.
I know I've got one. I have no idea where it is.
Yesterday, I couldn't find any of the 5 tape measures that I know we have. And so I'd like to have and like tape. We have, 2 things of when we need to ship something back to Amazon, how do I find the packing tape? We have some clear packing tape, some paper packing tape, some which is awesome, by the way. Have you ever had the paper packing tape?
Yes.
It's great.
Yes, it is.
And but some reinforced paper packing tape, and then some gaffer tape and duct tape of different color. I mean, all these things.
Oh,
Where
okay.
is it? I don't know.
We got to rewind. So I think I only know the reinforced paper tape. Maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So is the other stuff just the same? The thing I really liked about it is that you can just tear it.
I don't know
really
what I
easily.
have on my desk.
Of course, it's on your desk.
So this is
in my mind, all the things you just described are on your desk right now.
So this is just regular. It's tape, but it's made of paper.
Right.
And so it tears super easily.
That's what I like about the reinforced stuff. Yeah.
Of course, now I can't get it off of the. There we go. But I mean, it's just paper.
Oh, ASMR tape. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Drifter Sister thing. Adjustable wrenches and scissors are there too. Okay, fair enough.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We have a good 3 or 4, 5 different pairs of scissors. Where are they? I don't know.
Those,
usually,
for the press, we've got them out. Like
usually, the only pair we can find is Stella's little, 2-inch long, totally dull scissors, and we are stuck, trying to cut some cardboard with these scissors that are like falling apart as we use them.
So we use those like little command hooks that you can get for 3M or from 3M to like hang some stuff up.
Yeah.
And at least like our Amazon package scissors that we can use to disassemble boxes are the only tools that I know that have like an actual spot. But I guess what I want to know is, are you going to go as far as like paint the outline of the tool? You know, those cool workshops.
So first off, we're going to lay it out.
Okay.
Or put it out on this board.
Yeah.
Gotta have a plan. But then Wall Control has like this sheet of vinyl that is, if you have a white, we've got the white seal, but so then you can have black on this roll of black vinyl. You trace out your tool and you can cut it out and then stick it right where it goes, and boom.
This just tickles. Is like there's some sort of itch there that this scratches. It's just like the organizational itch. I've always wanted to have a garage that had the tools laid out with the like the spot that showed you where the hammer went back to. Now, Drifter saying, of course, then you have to have the scissors to be able to find them. I mean, I think we're at least at this point in time in my life, I've got multiples of most of the tools, but finding them is my biggest issue. And then that's me. There are 2 people in this household. The other person may not know where I've put the tool because there's no designated spot for it, which is like another.
She puts everything in one bucket because she doesn't know where everything goes, and I don't know about that bucket.
Yes, which honestly is fair, and that's happened here as well. So similarly, there's like a Tupperware kind of thing somewhere that it has all the leftovers that they found that she could put in.
And then we have one drawer that has all the AA batteries, another drawer that has the AAA batteries. I don't know where the CR2032 batteries that go inside our keychain, car keychain.
It's a massive mess. But we're not alone. So I feel like most people have this problem.
I have 2 rolls of the paper tape on my desk.
Of course you do. And 5 pairs of scissors.
Including
your daughters.
What do I do with this? The roll of Velcro. Okay, you can't. It's all just black. But this is Velcro.
Okay.
That I can stick onto, anywhere.
Yeah, Drifter, I think we both agree that just putting everything in the tub is not the best. I've also got those on my desk sometimes. It is not the best strategy, but it's better than nothing. I've also, for some reason, got these just sitting on my desk.
It's the same thing. Yeah.
They're very similar. Yeah.
They're great. Yeah. I've used all my green ones.
What is it? Tri-Lancer is what I'm using.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that the same brand you've got there?
Sorry. I noticed that there's another tape dispenser on my
tape measure?
On my desk.
What? Where are you going? You're packing for what?
It's sitting right next to my it's sitting right next to this, which everybody needs. Their Moose business card holder with a lost leg.
Okay, I thought we were into Warhammer 4000s or 40K somehow.
Yeah.
So I mean, I had these Velcro things on my desk, but I'm assuming you're of the Velcro crowd, the reusable cable tie, or are you a twist tie family?
I have a lot of twist ties.
Right.
This is actually you can get this at a hardware store, get a roll of it, long roll of it. It's meant for gardeners to tie vines to the stick thing. So I have a lot of these, and so once I've taken it off, I have a little a bucket, kind of like this. Like this one has just all sorts of camera connectors, but I have another one just filled with these things. But then the best one is, do I have it here?
The dog's all about these jingle jangly things.
Yeah, Jade is all about this.
Excited the dog.
Yeah. Oh, here it is. I got a bunch of these.
Oh, okay. I've seen
Bongo ties,
right.
which are pretty great. And they just, kind of wrap around whatever it is and then kind of latch on there.
That's not bad.
These are pretty cool.
Honestly, this stuff is like, it sounds boring as heck, but like, unless you've had these problems yet, hopefully someone early on in their tech ramblings has come across this podcast, because seriously, these are like scale issues. You've decided you want twist ties, and then they're all over the floor, all over the house. Your dog starts eating on one, and it's never a good look. Drifter is telling us that we're not allowed to use the word Velcro TM unless it's like been from. So it's loop and hook.
Ooh, loop and hook, yes.
TIL.
Yeah, and I said Firewire earlier. I should be using IEEE 1394.
Yeah.
Or
Sony iLink, I think, is the other I.Link.
Yeah.
Hook and loop. Yes, I've got a bunch of hook and loop here, and in fact, this is kind of my thing, is where they actually stay on the cable is my favorite, so that the cable always has something on it, so you don't need to go looking for it. I really like sort of self-documenting, self-looping, hooking devices.
So another good thing for
scintillating podcast here. Let's talk about our organizational.
Have I shown you my label printer?
Oh, maybe not. I've got a P-type. That's what I use. The Brother P-type.
Hold on. I'm unplug. I'll be right back.
No worries. While he's gone, I can describe the one that my studio runner uses, which is that old sort of plastic press through one, sort of like a black background, but it's manual. It doesn't require batteries, and it will last for years, which is great. However, I really can't get around the aesthetics of that plastic embossed one. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, Matt. Maybe we don't have him yet. Do you know those old plastic ones that you push through? They kind of punch through and emboss, and then they become white. I've never been able to get around. Yeah, it doesn't do it for me.
Yeah,
and I get it. They don't need batteries and they'll last forever, but it's just not my aesthetic.
So this is my label printer. Moly. Now hold on.
That's real. This looks like a Fluke network testing device. Amazing.
Let me get rid of what's on here, and I want what kind of wire I want wire cable for Cat X, okay? And I want to say what's something lightning. Let's just say light 3 foot.
Thrifter has 5 dymos in 5 different drawers.
Size. I need to change size.
I'm not there yet. I've still only got one label printer, but it feels like Matt might at least have 2.
So I just said light, as in lightning. I should have said LTNG maybe. But it prints it. You can't quite see.
You can't see it, but I can see the size of it. It's pretty small.
It's so basically what it's done is I've here this label. It comes out of the machine like that, but it says light 3D, light 3 or light 3 foot, light 3 foot, light 3 foot, light 3, over and over again.
Yeah.
And so then you take it off here, and then you put it on the cable. Where's my lightning cable?
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And it wraps around like this. And that way that label just says Lightning 3D or 3 foot. I keep saying 3D. But it's not a 3D lightning cable. That would be pretty cool. That's
presumably it exists in the space that you and I occupy.
So that's really neat. And so now I have Now I can look in my network cable box and see which ones are 3-foot versus 9-foot versus 20-foot, 25-foot.
Right.
This is great.
That is the issue, because I'm always looking for ends, and then I'll end up with
Yeah.
something that's really short or really long.
Right.
I like that.
So this is a great. It's called a Rhino. It's a standard.
Rhino.
It's actually made by Dymo, but it's this is RINO. I think it's RINO. It's kind of the standard for. Oh yeah, RHINO. Oh.
4200. Yeah.
This is the Rhino 4200. Yes.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. It looks amazing.
It's great. And
now,
then
does it take those same labels that like the other printers take, or
no,
does these look like
it's
completely different?
It's a completely different.
Okay.
I mean, it's the same kind of a cartridge.
A cartridge, okay.
But they're like 3/4 inch wide.
Gotcha. Those look really handy though. That is the problem that I have right now is finding the cable ends is one step, and then finding the length is the other.
Yeah, and knowing is it USB-C on one side and USB mini, micro, whatever.
Yeah, that's next level.
So I got one other organization thing that I just started doing pretty recently.
It feels like we tapped the nerve here.
That is amazing. This is an amazing thing. So how often do you have you manage to you bought something at some point, and then you in a junk drawer somewhere is random part.
Yes.
What is this thing for? Yes.
All the time trying to attach this mic to the stand today, for example.
Yes. So this actually came with one of the bar lights from Aperture.
Okay. Yep.
Like tube lights.
Yep.
And so what I've done is I bought a bag full of bags of bags. These are Plymore bags. I guess if you with like the white label on the front. I guess if you were really into drugs, this would be a great way of selling. I don't know. I actually know. Are dime bags like smaller? I don't know. I never was
talking to the wrong guy.
I never was into drugs, so I don't know about that usage. So anyway,
I found the bags though. Plymore, PLY.
I've got a whole bunch, and this says I for Aperture bar light. And then you get the little box. This is the 3x5 box clear by Advantis in Jacksonville. And I've just got all sorts of things in here, like the pin for sim or reset hole. They're not really organized, but because I only have one box so far. And so if I have small things, it goes in here.
That's pretty cool.
But yeah, some screws that came for the B-Link PC. Maybe I'm going to need those at some point, and I would need to find them. Well, now I just go into this box and
you are way more organized.
I have one bag that is random screws,
of course.
but then for some reason I don't know why I have one bag for a USB key and why I need to label it, but because I've got another box somewhere filled with like 50 USB keys that are all, really big, 128 megs.
Yes, those are really handy.
Yeah. So yeah,
I never know what to do with those because I feel like I can't wipe them in a way that would satisfy me. Not that I'm storing anything bad on them, but like I just whenever I get rid of any device, I need to make sure that it's wiped, and I just can't be confident.
I have a box filled with hard drives.
Same.
That I mean I even have the little thing that plugs into a USB port that lets me connect to basically all the different drive types that there have been. And so I can do that, but still I need to do it. And
that's not too bad. My issue is that when they start to mechanically fail, like the heads won't move, then I can't wipe them. But I know you can still read them, and then I just it becomes this like cycle of like maybe I'll just put it in a box or
until I get that drill.
Exactly.
And I drill and I can start drilling through them. Yeah.
But even then, apparently, you can read like different sectors, and they write on like maybe it was like single platter back in the day. Multiple platters, I guess, is a little bit harder. But yeah, all of that stuff is just like paranoia, I think. And honestly, like I'm not even sure what's on these drives. It's probably fine, or it's in some file system like ZFS that no one else would be able to read anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ugh.
So,
But yes, I think hoarding and technology kind of comes along. And I guess when
mhm.
we were talking through a lot of this, because probably we were talking about Devon Think, it made
Right.
me think a lot about sort of that application inventory, or what that
Mhm.
means for a business to know what you've got out there and where, or like where the code is, where the
Right.
secrets are stored, that kind of stuff. And it's one of those things that is maybe an unsolved problem, but it's like
Mhm.
that inventory system is always
Yeah.
something I think about a
Yeah,
lot.
there's also, I mean, like I have a drawer filled with old CDs,
Same.
CD-ROMs.
Same. Now
And
I've got a lot of it in Google Drive now,
mm,
including serial numbers and purchase dates and stuff like that. But
mhm.
it's not standardized, and I'm sure you've got
Yeah.
your own way of keeping your
Yeah.
virtual licenses and DMGs and
Well,
EXEs
then
and stuff.
there's like videos that, so I always think about this one set of CD-ROMs that are, or maybe they're DVDs. It's filled with videos that I'm not. I can't distribute them because I'm not legally. I don't have the license.
You're not the
But
license owner.
but I mean, they were amazing. Like, and it's fun to see every now and then. Basically, it's internally at Microsoft, they always did these skits at the company meeting, where
Okay.
it was Bill and Steve and then somebody else doing this skit that would be, it was based on real life at the time. And so there was one with Real World, and it had Martha Stewart in it, and Bill and Steve, and
Wow.
like Cronkite and a bunch of other people, well, not Cronkite, but other people, like in the real world, like the seven strangers or eight strangers all stuffed together in an apartment,
Yep.
that kind of thing as a skit, and it was amazing. Or Brian Boy, which was like a Tommy Boy, but with Brian Valentine, and
Wow.
all these other videos that are amazing to watch. It's like I can't distribute these, but they're fun to see.
Do you ever like take your CDs out and maybe make copies of them? I used to make
Mm,
ISOs of some of my stuff because CDs fall
yeah,
apart after a while as
yeah,
well.
yeah. I mean, I'm scared to open up that box because I don't know
Right.
what's
Yeah,
gonna
I
be there.
noticed that some of the re-recordables that I was using, like
Hmm.
CDRWs, I guess,
Hmm.
actually held up pretty well, whereas a lot of the CDRs started to like flake
Mm,
over time. That the
yeah,
coding was bad.
yeah,
For me at least, most of those are photo backups. So like,
yeah.
I'm legally the content owner, so I'm going
Right,
through and trying to rescue like old photo scans and things like that, like
right.
really bad Photoshop from early 2000s. Just
Yeah,
what were you thinking, kind of thing. But still, like
but
I want to have the access to those.
yeah. Another problem I have is I don't have a CD-ROM drive.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah,
And the other thing is, like, once you rescue those CDs, again, how do you dispose of them? So I was
right.
shredding them in a
Yeah,
shredder, and you can do
yeah.
CD shredding, but I swear that can't be healthy because like
Oh
it's
yeah.
breaking down the plastic and the foil. It's like after a
Yeah,
while, I looked at it like, wait a second, there's like a pile of
yeah,
basically glass and plastic over
yeah,
here that's got to be in the air. This can't be
yeah,
good. But last time we moved, I did go through and digitize
yeah.
a bunch of my CDs. Um,
We have a bunch.
LED.
We also have a bunch of like jazz discs, but we do have the jazz drive
Right.
here, so that
For
is an
those
option.
of you listening, Jazz is from iOmega. These are very chunky floppies. He's not talking about
Awful.
like jazz music CDs.
Except I
Because
wouldn't
like
be
seriously,
dancing like that.
people would
Yeah,
have no idea what an
yeah,
iOmega Jazz drive is
yeah.
because they're pretty short lived, but
It
very
was the
very handy.
jazz drive and the zip drive.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
zip drive I think people may have come across or at least heard
yeah,
of, but yeah. Zip drives were amazing for me. At least being
yeah.
able to go from like a Unix lab to a Mac lab to a
Hmm.
PC lab with the same
Hmm.
disk was phenomenal in university
Yeah,
because we didn't have this whole, to tie us back into the Microsoft stuff, the dev home or the GitHub syncing or
hmm
like VS Code. None of that existed. I was using like 3 different editors, one of which is Emacs.
yeah.
The other one was like Code Warrior.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Like,
It
oh,
was like one of the first other tool you could use other than Xcode to build
yeah.
iOS, or not iOS, but Mac apps.
Mac apps, yeah. It's
Yeah,
OS 9 at the time is what we're
yeah.
using. But yeah, this is a while ago. We're getting old, Matt.
We are, we are.
We're like
Um,
accumulating cruft at this point in time, and then trying to figure out ways of
yeah.
organizing the cruft.
So I mentioned the wall control board. We
Right.
also got the a 6-foot workbench.
Nice.
So we're gonna have a workbench in the
Look at
in the
you.
garage
You're
as
gonna
well.
have
So
like your own little hack space there.
it's gonna be awesome. Place
That's
to
fantastic.
leave the soldering iron out. I'm excited about
Should
that.
always unplug it though.
Well, unplug, but leave it out.
I'm just teasing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen, it feels like we talked about checkout stuff for a good half hour there, but that
Yeah,
was
I
great.
think
So
so.
I did I got all these links. Hopefully my typing wasn't too loud as I went through it, but I do have them. I'll
Pretty
pop
good.
them over to you in the list. But this is it's been an eye opener for me because I wasn't aware of most of this stuff, honestly. So thank you. Seriously.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Pat.
You can now buy them all.
Yeah, I mean, wall control looks amazing. This is something I've
Yeah.
been looking for years.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean the fact. I mean, when you go through like all the different attachment type. I mean, we got the like 8-foot master something craftsman something set, which looks great. But then there's all sorts of other attachments you can get. I mean, we got it through Home Depot.
Okay.
It's they all seem to charge the same price no matter where you get it. I think Amazon might have it a little cheaper, but it's super easy to return to Home Depot anything. So we got it from there in case we need to.
Right.
But they have all sorts of, I mean, attachments that, like, if you have a cordless drill or whatever, you know, there's an attachment where you can just basically hook it on, and including the battery packs, and it's just really well thought out places to put all your tools.
Looks really cool.
Yeah.
All right. That's a bunch of stuff to check out, folks.
Yeah.
Organize your lives, or else Matt's coming with you. With Devon Think over here.
That's right. Devon Think, Devon Agent. I think there was another Devon tool as well. I can't remember.
There was one more. Devon Think, Devon Agent, and Devon Sphere.
Oh yeah. Which is kind of a light version of Devon Think, I think.
Gotcha. Very neat. They've got AI included apparently. So
apparently
they're on the train.
Cutting edge.
All right, shall we call it?
All right, I think we should call it. Let me look for that end broadcast button. Let me see if I can find it.